As global aid declines, the United Nations has urged Nigeria to accelerate efforts to finance its own development by strengthening domestic revenue, attracting private investment, and adopting innovative funding models. Speaking at the joint UN Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework 2023 to 2027 Steering Committee meeting in Abuja, UN Resident and Humanitarian Coordinator Mohammed Fall described the changing aid landscape as a wake-up call, urging closer alignment between UN support and Nigeria's development priorities as the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals deadline approaches.
I'm the first one is that let's always remember that what brings us together. It's the cooperation framework. The cooperation framework for me is the master document that really shapes our relationship with government. And it's built on the foundation of taking the priority of the government and aligning with them. And once the cooperation framework is aligned with the national priority, the country program document that follow, the country exercise align with this. Now, it's happening in a context which is particular. It's happening in a context that, as we speak, there is a high-level panel taking place now in New York to assess how much we are progressing toward the SDG. What is clear is that we are not in good shape. Only 4 years remain. But in those 4 years, if you look at today, most of the indicators of the SDG, or they are in a progress that are so slow that it will not make us to reach the goal 4 years from now, or the number that are progressing well are so small that it will not have the multiplying effect and the impact that we have, or some of them are even off track or are maybe below the level where we were in 2015, where this goal was declared as a social contract that brings the world leader with their population. Now, this, of course, should trigger a reflection, and that's why I think beyond the guidance we got from the respective minister that will have spoken, what I expect the steering committee is to go down to the data and see where Nigeria stands in this global. We all know that in many aspects, Nigeria is following this global trend. We have many goals, maybe or probably more than half of the goal, for which we are not on track, or for which the progress is so slow, given the size of the population, that if we continue to go at this pace, maybe by 100 years from now, we will still be in this progress, but we will not be there. Nigeria also is being shocked by so many factors, sometimes internal, sometimes external, that you can see that in many aspects also the goals are experiencing setback. Now, the conversation of today should be, how are we going to address this? To make sure, as the Honorable Minister of State was saying, that we walk the talk, but not talk the talk. Make sure that the window we are left is so critical that all we need is what we call speed and scale. In Nigeria, you can be successful on everything you do in terms of speed. But when you don't go at scale, and given the size of the population, given the rapid demographic growth of the population, you will not be where you want it to be. And in the other hand, also the country is in such a complex way that you need to manage the differences that are in the different part of the country and make sure that you are on track. What is happening now is that this is taking place not in a context where we are challenged by the slowness of the progress in the SDG, but it has taken place also at a time where we are seeing humanity facing challenge that has never been seen before. Today, when you take war, we are almost where we were by the 1940s when we were in the Second World War. Almost every part of the globe is experiencing conflict, internal or inter-countries conflict. Almost every part of the globe is experiencing today climate-related shock that are absorbing all the gain we are making in terms of development and human progress. Everywhere in the world, you are seeing poverty, inequality, and economic hardship keeping back so many people that you wonder, are we talking about the same humanity? And this is the context in which also we have seen solidarity declining. We have seen ODA declining. We have seen share of wealth declining. When I was UNICEF rep here, we used to have an HNRP for the Northeast, 3 states of over $1 billion a year. Today, we hardly reach 240 million. That really indicates where we are in terms of international solidarity and where we are in terms of multilateralism. But as I say, we should not look at this as a challenge. We should look at it also as a wake-up call. Wake-up call for our host government to change their modality of addressing development, to look for domestic resource mobilization, to look for innovative finances, to bring in private sector, to mobilize civil society, to mobilize and trigger all the mechanisms that can change or adapt to this new paradigm and landscape of resource availability. The second, as I say, it's not a wake-up call only for government that are hosting us. It's a wake-up call for UN and for us too. Because the way we were delivering, the progress we were making, the number of workshops we were doing, the number of, someone like said that I like processes. I think that's something I inherited from my UN decades of work. Those things are slowing down our ability to deliver. The fact that today there are opportunities like digital, like artificial intelligence, to which extent are we using it to be more efficient in our delivery, to have greater impact and to have multiplying effect on how we deliver? Those are the questions I want us to ask ourselves today. That we don't just stand in front of our host government, question them, ask them to mobilize more resources. That will be the discussion during the humanitarian transition workshop. Or ask them to be more efficient while we are not embracing those changes and those new opportunities.
Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Atiku Bagudu, said the framework must deliver measurable improvements in the lives of Nigerians, while Minister of State, Doris Anite, reaffirmed government's commitment to tackling funding challenges and ensuring effective implementation of the cooperation framework.
There is urgency, there is the need to do more in the very short time that remains for the Sustainable Development Goals to be realized or to be as much as possible achieved. And this is all in a changing world where the UN system is facing its own challenges. The development effort generally is facing changes, both predicted and otherwise unpredicted. Multilateralism is being stressed by a number of challenges, both global and regional, and therefore all this impacts on the way we intended the commitments to be delivered. Even for us in Nigeria, the last 3 years have been years of remarkable effort to reset the economy in such a way that there would be more predictable macroeconomic environment that investors can see and that can begin to release resources that are otherwise spent on subsidies that are less efficient than they will be available for the development process. And so while the 2023-2027 commitments provide opportunities, in the Nigeria's case, the contrasting period has shown a result that we believe maintained will contribute to sustainable development goals. The macroeconomic reforms have helped release resources that can be used to achieve some of the the sustainable development goals.
And aligning the National Development Plan with the Sustainable Development Goals. So by and large, it's geared towards achieving or renewing our cooperation framework agreement on achieving the Sustainable Development Goal. And I think we've all agreed and we are aligned on what needs to be done to achieve the national priorities and the Sustainable Development Goals. We have agreed also that it's very important to find a financing mechanism to ensure that